a 90-minute session today because we're going to be covering some of the amazing release notes for our 2026 Wave 1. And I will tell you, I'm excited to hear about it and participate. And it's not exactly what we expected, I think, but at the same point, I think that there's some really cool things here. So with that, let's go ahead and introduce the team that is actually going to be driving this presentation today. We've got Mr. Marcus, Mr. Joe, and Mr. Bill. Marcus, why don't we start with you? Why don't you do a quick introduction for the audience, and we'll go through the list here.
Sure. Good to be back. Pre-sales on the pre-sales team. Work primarily with Business Central here at Stoneridge. So I'll be representing Team BC today.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, Mr. Joe.
All right. Well, Marcus and I are fighting because I am on Team F&O. So I am a pre-sales architect on the F&O side of things. And yeah, looking forward to talking to you about some of the new F&O enhancements that we got coming out in Wave 1.
Awesome.
And Joe and I never get to do any presentations together.
Right.
So this is good.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
I think like once or twice a year during the Wave releases, we actually get to do something together.
Yeah, but no, that's it. This is the only time we get to do it.
Right?
Yep.
Well, we'll see who demos better, right? Here we go. So, and then Mr. Bill, right? I was going to say, Mr. Bill, why don't you go ahead and do a quick introduction?
Hello, everybody. Part of pre-sales as well. Hopefully, I'm either the star or not the ugly stepchild, but I am on the CE side. So all those people that are watching for CRM or customer experience and all the different business applications there is what I'm going to talk about today and excited to share.
Awesome. And then I will be the host for today, kind of just keeping us on track here as much as possible. Feedback that we've gotten from others in the past is that this session should be 90 minutes because, quite candidly, we cover a lot of content then when it comes to these applications. So I kind of, with that, I don't want to take up too much time other than just do a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning here, just to let you know that, if you haven't been on a Stoneridge Confab before, welcome. It's great to have you here. Feel free to interact with chat. We already have Carly and Rob kind of giving some heads up on some of the interaction here. You can ask questions as we go through it. I'd be really curious as well, like we always talk about this, like what features are you most interested in the Wave release? Or what feedback do you have on some of these particular features that we're kind of discussing? So as interactive as you want to make it, that'd be awesome. And obviously as well, it's kind of like free consulting is the way I look at it from people that have I want to say it, and I got to be careful. I think we're close to 100 years of experience between all of us in business systems on this call. We may even be exceeding that. So there's a lot of great experience here, and yeah, we love to just kind of give the realistic perspective when it comes, obviously, to the Microsoft stack. So I guess with that, I've talked enough here. Marcus, I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the presentation to start here. And I think you've got some content around Business Central that looks kind of exciting that we're going to be able to take a look at today.
Yeah, I think the only other housekeeping thing I'd mention, Scott, is I think next week we have all of the product-specific Wave release webinars. So check out our website. Okay. I'm sure somebody from our team can throw them in the chat, but I think they're all next week. At least I think mine is next week. But I think
mine is next Wednesday, I believe, and I think yours Thursday, and I'm not exactly sure when Bill is.
I'm actually not. My colleague Jesse's going to take over that one, but he is probably next week as well. He was just pinging me today.
So that's perfect. So
look for Jesse.
Right, so this will give kind of a little bit of an insight at a high level where we can tell people which feature is better between BC and F&O, and knowing that CE always wins. We'll have to have some fighting here with that, but then if you want to get more specific, I really appreciate that, Marcus. Go to those webinars and there'll be even more detail, obviously, that we'll be able to cover as well. So awesome.
All right, so let's get started. I just kind of did some bullets, and I can talk to the bullets as we go through here. But starting with the Copilot and agent pieces, so Microsoft has added the ability to design agents inside of Business Central. So if you're familiar with the purchasing agent, the sales agent that sits on the role center top right, there's another icon that's there which is allowing you to design them. I think I think this is going to take some development work to like fully bake it out. But you do have the ability to create an agent and then execute it. My playing with it, I think call it a shortcoming right now is that you have to manually trigger the agent. With development, then you could schedule the agent to run like the payables agent and the sales agent. So again, you're probably going to have to do a little bit of development work to make it really functional for you. But exciting change. The next couple are really, I think it's feedback that Microsoft has gotten on how the agents have been designed and how they work inside of Business Central. And there's some changes that they've added, or some functionality they've added around the agent. So the first one is a category is added to the processed emails. So the idea here is if you've got a shared email box, if you've got multiple people working in an email box, when an agent then picks up an email, it's going to flag it with a category so that it's easier to sort, filter, to really deal with those emails and manage that email box. So nice, I think a nice functionality, but it also sees the agent now interacting with Outlook a little bit more. Dedicated task pane to display all tasks generated by an agent. Again, I think the feedback there was, I've got the agent doing a whole bunch of stuff. How do I actually see what it's doing? So it's a new page to actually be able to look at the activity that the agent is, things that the agents are doing. Review content generated by the agents directly on the pages. So this is more functionality or visibility when you're looking at a specific record, and then the ability to see, okay, how is the agent actually interacting with the record that I'm looking at? So a little bit different than the full view of everything that's happening. It's just a micro view of everything happening for that specific transaction. And again, the feedback there was from I think users trying to understand what and how the agent is actually interacting and working with the data set. So that's what those pieces are there, is really to sort of help with that visibility to it. Avatar and list pages to surface created by a modified. Again, the driver here was about the agent, visibility to the agent creating records, modifying records in the system. The upside to this is a pretty common request that we get, is visibility to see, created by, updated by on records. And we have to sometimes do a minor modification to make that work. It's just going to be out all the time. So it's just going to be there. The avatars is another interesting one. So this is a little bit of a UI change and giving you a graphical enhancement, if you will, from a visibility perspective on list pages. So I think this is sort of a byproduct that is beneficial in the rest of the product, but it was driven really around the agent side of things. Stop all tasks for agents. Again, managing, the feedback is in managing the activity of the agent. It was a 1-by-1. If you wanted to cancel stuff, you had to do 1-1-1-1. Now you've got the ability to really stop all the processing if you want to, sort of a fell swoop, if you will. And then additional resources with Copilot extensions. So I think we need to remember that you do have the ability within Business Central to extend and create and interact with Copilot yourself. So what you see throughout the product in terms of the sales order, on the sales order itself, the agent there, or the upload the file to create sales orders, the bank reconciliation, the number series where Copilot is. There's a lot of places that Copilot exists in the application. You can, with development, do and build your own agents. So I always think of these are, in a way, seeding ideas.
Yep.
Think about those. Think about how you could almost apply that same functionality elsewhere in the application, and it absolutely can be done. So you're not limited to what's available out of the box. So I think that's just a reminder, but there's additional functionality around extensions in the development toolkit that have been added for this. So yeah. Big plus there.
Yeah, right. And I posted in the chat, I know it only goes to Twitch and to YouTube because that's the only chat integration. So there is AI agents in BC. So if you type in like AI development toolkit for Business Central, that'll bring you to the Learn page that has designing and coding agents. Yep. One of the things I just want to kind of get ahead of here, because it's the initial thought I had as well. I struggle a bit here, Marcus, with the design AI agents in BC, right? Because we have Copilot Studio that is really truly like if I was making a recommendation to typically any user base, and I would almost say like usually 20 to 30, maybe 40 users on up, which is a pretty sweet spot for BC. Like when you design an agent, you might be having it require to go get an Excel file or to go to Dataverse or to do an email. And I think the intent with the design AI agents inside of Business Central is to make it so that you can have like you said, like a trigger based agent that can do some type of logic, but it's all pro code that you do to design that, right? You have to design it in AL and it has no interaction with Copilot Studio. Is that a correct assumption?
I think you could with the AL extensions to Copilot, but you're right, it's not directly to Copilot Studio.
It's not Studio.
No.
Okay. So
No.
I guess maybe for the audience to help them navigate it, there might be situations where you have a very simple agent that lives inside of BC where a trigger occurs and then you have to do some large language model processing steps inside of it. Maybe that feels like a good spot then for that AI agent. But with MCP, which I don't want to steal your thunder, I know they're going to talk about it a little bit more. If you do need to use Copilot Studio, you can still use that first party low code, no code tool set to then build agents that then interact with Business Central as well. It just feels like you're getting some choices here. So, right, is that?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and I think there's going to be some confusion around which tool do you use.
Right.
It's almost the same thing as the built-in graphical report writer that's inside of BC versus Power BI. Like, yeah, can you build charts and graphs inside of Business Central? Yeah, you can. But I think most people choose Power BI today, not the built-in graphical tool. So and maybe I think it's probably going to be similar.
Yeah, it's a question of scale, it feels like, as well, to a degree. Meaning, like, if I'm an ISV and I'm building a solution inside of Business Central, having something where I can move code into BC as one package versus having to move Copilot Studio and also BC, I can understand why they're doing it. So I know people are going to ask about it. I think, candidly, with a lot of our customers, an agent inside of BC, there's probably going to be some situations for it, but a lot of customers that are larger customers that we typically deal with on BC, they're probably going to be using Copilot Studio and MCP, I would guess, to do some of these different processes. So, okay. Yeah. Well, good to know.
All right. Whole host of additional items. So I put employee expense reports up here at the top. Common ask, right? We want to do expense reports. So this is functionality that's coming inside of Business Central. They sort of... this was one of the hidden gems, I would say. There wasn't really talk about this until the release notes came out, so it's there. It's a version 1, best I can tell. So you want functionality where you've got the app on your phone and you take a picture of your receipt and all that sort of stuff. Not quite there yet, but built-in expense reports, which is it's been an ask for quite a while, especially with projects. Being able to take people that are doing work, put an expense report in the same time on the timesheet. That's what you've got. Whole host of development updates. I'm not going through them, but there's a lot of updates in the development environment. So if you're a developer, Microsoft has not forgotten that tool set and the continued investment that they're making in that tool set, which I think is great. Shopify, we do have some clients using Shopify, but there's another set of improvements around the Shopify integration with Business Central. So if you're using it, if you're thinking about using it, Microsoft is continuing to invest in that. This is kind of an odd one. Calculate taxes for plastic and sugar. It's really an excise tax add-on to Business Central. So it's kind of an obscure feature, but at the same time, if you need that, and it's basically allowing you to do taxes based on, let's say, weight versus dollars or volume. So there could be more applications to that if you needed it. Plastic and sugar is what they specifically call out, which is kind of interesting. Another one is a self-billed purchase invoice. So if you've got a scenario where you've got a buyer and maybe the vendor doesn't send you an invoice, but you've got a contractual agreement to bill based on usage or something like that, you now have got the ability to tie it back and do self-billed AP, which is, again, a little bit of an obscure feature, but I think we've had people that need this. So this is a great add from a functionality perspective. MCP, again, preview coming. So Scott, I don't know if you want to talk more about that and really the implications of that, not just with Business Central, but really the whole stack of Dynamics products.
Yeah, MCP is it's the way that agents can basically interact with Business Central, and technically MCP is it's a standard, right? It's like OData or ODBC back in the day, right? What it stands for is Model Context Protocol. What it does is it defines, for example, when you add an MCP connection to an agent, so a lot of autonomous agents would use this, chat-based agents as well if you're asking for inquiries. But basically what it does is it tells the agent, like, what do you get to click on? What is the data that's going to come back? When you ask for customers, where is the customer data stored? Or when I'm looking for an invoice related to a customer, what tables contain that information? So MCP is all about defining the context of what you're interacting with and what actions you can take. So this is not just Business Central. Like, we have it for CE and F&O. And quite candidly, I'm using it right now for a agent rollout that we're doing that takes data from within Dynamics 365 CE and then updates F&O with that data. And to do the update for F&O, we use MCP to basically redo the transaction, so to speak, inside of F&O instead of doing the swivel chair scenario with it. So I think, like you said, Marcus, like this is where, like, when an agent needs to do multiple things where multiple data sources are involved, having Copilot Studio be the agent technology and then adding an MCP connection to Business Central will probably be a better strategy, as opposed to building an agent inside of BC. But once again, not every customer is at that level, and BC has always been that SMB solution, right? So that might be where that balance kind of shifts basically as we kind of go through that. So great to see it's finally in preview. I know Anna on our team, she's posted a couple articles as well, or blogs on it. So it absolutely is, once again, the technology I would use to do some of that transactional processing that you typically need for an agent to tackle.
Yep. So, I mean, the implications of that is just really faster deployment of agents.
Yep.
It's easier to get to the data. All that's what it's going to allow us to do.
Nailed it.
All right, audit user group permissions. We get this frequently with larger organizations. You know, you need to audit changes to those, so there's some updates there. Updated Outlook integration. I was excited to see this. I like the Outlook integration with Business Central. If you're not using it, it's free. You know, obviously you need a license to Business Central, but you can deploy the Outlook add-in and run Business Central inside of Outlook. It's a filtered list. I like it. There's some stability and usability features that Microsoft has added to it. So if you've looked at it before, just know that there's some updates around that. Control the lifecycle of report layouts. This is a nice feature. So as you're putting or creating new report layouts, you can put them in a pre-deploy, deploy phased. Again, management tools around the deployment of changes. So that's great. Additional Power BI app for subscription billing. So if you're familiar with the Power BI apps, it's finance, sales, purchasing, inventory, manufacturing, service. They've now got one for subscription billing, which is nice. I think the native reporting around subscription billing was a little light. So I think this will be a really good supplement to that. Financial report enhancements. I love these. So if you're running financial reports inside of BC, scheduling reports for distribution. This is a common ask. I know our team has done some development work around this, and we're able to do it with some development, but this is going to be out of the box. So that's great. Running reports for all the value in a dimension. So if you're thinking about departmental reports, you know, being able to just churn them out, and then run multiple reports, get a single PDF. That's been a common ask too. So I think some nice enhancements around financial reporting. If you've come from GP to BC, you know, these are going to be some nice add-ins that are coming for you. Modernizing inventory reports. If you're familiar with the analysis views, there's some additional enhancements that Microsoft has added specifically around inventory. So there's some, I think, some nice features there. Pictures to variants. So if you're familiar with variants, I find this interesting. Microsoft continues to make improvements around item variants. Almost every release, we're seeing some functionality related to variants. So if you're using variants or maybe have shied away from variants because of some limited functionality, might be worth taking a look at again. Some nice functionality there. Approvals extended to item journals, requisitions, and planning worksheets. So those are the native workflow approvals. Just you're going to get more templates in more places. Create purchase order directly from a sales order that are set up for drop shipments. There's actually a couple of features around drop shipments that Microsoft has added into the system, which is great. If you're familiar with drop ships, there's a lot of clicking. That's a common complaint around that. I know our development team, again, we've got some apps that some extensions that we've built around streamlining the dropship process. So let us know if you're interested in seeing more about those. We can certainly get you connected to those extensions that we've done, but we can also do, or look at these additional things here. Purchase quote typer, little typo there from contact. So if you're familiar with sales quotes that you can generate off of a contact, this is purchase quotes off of a contact. So
you weren't able to parity. That's kind of funny. You weren't able to do that before.
Right. Bringing parity to APAR, I think, is really the key there. Some improvements around manufacturing. These are kind of some very specific features. If you're using lots and serial with production output, it's actually a lot cleaner now. I know that there's some development that we've done around the output process, particularly if you're doing serialized inventory. It's a little cumbersome, so fix that up a little bit. Location code posting, again, just ease of use kind of functionality that they're adding in there. And then some control warnings around non-certified bombs and routings, which is nice. Some filters around receipt and shipping lines, usability things. I think that's really what that is. Some matching improvements that they've done. Here's another one with the drop ship. So posting a purchase invoice for drop shipments independently of the related sales invoice. Again, a kind of a common complaint of the way that the drop shipment process is designed, that they are coupled together. And in previous versions, what you had was a real regimented process that you had to go through. You couldn't break that. Microsoft is giving you some flexibility here now to sort of process those documents independently if you want to or need to. And again, reversing drop shipments, so more functionality around there. Out of the box, posted sales invoices or sales shipments to email. So again, we've done development around to do that, but out of the box functionality. Additional subcontracting capabilities in production. If you're doing subcontractor management, there are some gotchas with that. Just frankly, there just are. And I think there was some missing functionality around the way if you were heavy into subcontracting, it came up a little short. So Microsoft has added some functionality around subcontract management that I think if you're using it, you're really going to like these. It's really helping, I think, streamline and make that process more manageable in the application, which is awesome. Quality management is generally available. Just a caveat on that quality management module, you do have to go to the App Store to get it. So if you're an existing BC user, at this point, and I think this is still the case, Microsoft is not adding that extension automatically to your system. You can proactively go get it. It's free, but that's how you have to go get it, which is a little different than the way that the feature works. My only thing with that is I'm assuming that because there's so many third-party quality products, they probably don't want to stomp on it if you've got one that exists in the system. So you just have to go get it. But it's available in the App Store for Microsoft.
So that's a first, right? Like that. Has there been other features in BC where you have to go to the store to download it to add it as a first?
I think this is the first
Shopify
one.
may have had that a little bit, but I don't even remember. Interesting.
Well,
okay.
And it's different. So if you are a new deployment of BC, you're going to get it automatically. It's only existing deployments that you'd have to go get it.
Okay. So they didn't use feature management for it. They just made it so that you have to install it by doing that app install, basically.
Well, I think you have to install it and add the feature management.
Okay.
So it's a two-step process. So
interesting. Okay.
I throw my reminders.
Yeah.
Feature management, which is what you just talked about. When you see the new features that go into the system, you have to go to feature management most of the time to turn them on.
Yep.
So if you're familiar with the rollout cycle, Microsoft typically does the feature release and the wave release. You can turn it on if you want to. if you look at that feature management window, you're also going to see when it if it's preview, when it would be a generally available feature, and then when is it going to be turned on by default. So I know with each wave release, there is functionality that's automatically being turned on if you didn't turn it on. So I encourage you, check out feature management just so you're aware of things that are being updated. There's some behind the scenes thing like calculating visible flow fields or something like that, which is going to get turned on in this feature. Not a big deal. Again, minor things. So just note the ones that are going to be there. Always test in a sandbox. Just don't go get the quality module, download the extension, put it into your production system. Just, again, that's my caveat for that. Don't do that. Don't turn on features in your production system without testing them first. So just note that. And then public preview is available of the version. So if you've got a sandbox available, you should be able to create that public preview of this wave release. It's going to be the demo environment, which is fine. It's not going to update your system yet, but you could at least, see what those features are in real life inside of a sandbox tenant.
That makes sense. And so in BC, though, are we starting to get production-ready previews yet? Are those in the list by chance?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in the release notes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Quality is one of them.
Okay.
It's GA. I think technically the purchasing agent is also GA in this release. You could use it before, but I think it's officially generally available now.
Yeah, and I just want to let the audience know so Microsoft added a new classification with some of the stuff that they've been introducing. We used to always say GA is where we're that's where we consider a feature when we go through a design, for example. Microsoft has stated that production ready previews are basically GA, but they are going to still adapt a little bit. So just something to note. It was kind of interesting because we were hearing about it from on the Copilot Studio side of it. One of the principal program managers basically just clarified, stating, "Hey, just so you know, a lot of people don't like to design with preview features when we're going through an implementation, for example. But if it's a production ready preview, it's more akin to GA than not." Yep. They just are warning you that there may be some fairly substantial updates between that production ready preview and release, but I guess what we're seeing is that there isn't as many of those big breaking changes, but because they're going so fast, I think they're just giving you a warning that there's still active development happening around that feature, right? So, okay.
Yeah. And I think if you look at that feature management page inside of BC, you should be able to identify those.
Yep. And here we got Leah posted for Anna's blog. Thank you, Leah, for that. Rob was asking a little bit early, can it undo the processing? And I think that was at that AI agent. I don't think you can undo what it processed. I think you can stop it, right, and then disable it, but you can't undo the work that it's done in the past. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Cool. Is that what you had, Marcus?
Indicative of Business Central, there's not an undo.
Right. Yeah. Well, the other features, I just want to add a couple comments too. The drop shipment, it's one of those features. I remember kidding when we didn't have it for the longest time, and it took us 15 years to get kidding. That drop shipment one, I'm so happy to hear that they added that, because it's so common that people create a sales order, release it, and they want it to automatically create that purchase order. So it sounds like that feature, I remember every single implementation that had drop shipments or special orders, I would add that feature. So it sounds like now Microsoft tackled it, so we don't have to make that change.
Yeah, well, and again, I'd say a caveat to that, we have an extension that really streamlines the process as well. So if you have problems today, we can help you. If you look at the preview and it's still not doing exactly what you want, we can still help you with that too. So I know we've got quite a few clients that are very drop shipment heavy, and we've worked with them, and we've got some more off-the-shelf type extensions that are available now from our team. So let us know if you want to see any of those too.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. All right, perfect. All right, I guess with that, I think, Bill, was it you or Joe who's going next? Are we arm wrestling?
Me.
Joe's pointing up at Bill. It's Bill's turn.
I'm the buffer between the two financials. They were fighting it out.
Right.
So
all right.
We will go ahead and get it going here.
Share your screen.
Let me share my screen. You guys should be able to see.
Magic, we see, and let me bring it to the audience. We have it up on the screen now too.
All right.
Take it
Great.
away, Bill.
Awesome. So we will do that. So with Dynamics customer engagement experience, what we have, everybody's thinking about CE. We know that there's a lot of different business applications. I'm going to cover off on sales, customer service, field service, customer insights, otherwise known as marketing, most common ones. There are some enhancements, or if you go out to the Learn, I've provided that link that actually goes to, I think, BC and F&O as well, that they've got it tabbed really well. That really, there's some other things to maybe contact center or customer insights data, some other things that just in the time constraints, I'm not going to be able to cover off on today, but I invite everybody to go do that. Marcus talked a little bit about, hey, when is some things ready? You guys talked about it. In here, in various forms and various things, Microsoft is saying that these features that I'm going to talk about are available from April through September. So some of them are in preview, some of them are in GA, some of them, there's just a lot. There's a lot with the different business applications. So thinking about that and doing that.
I echo that, Bill, with BC. I should have said that too. They're not just all going to be available in April.
Right.
It's a time frame that they're going to be released. So yeah,
to re-released. Yeah, so that's a good thing to convey with everybody with all of these features that we're talking about. I will also caveat that, I mean, some of our clients, some of you guys that are watching this and thinking about it, you just have sales, or you have sales and field service or customer service. There's going to be some features where they would require licensing for multiple business applications.
Right.
So just know that I'm going to specifically call that out. In the field service side, they're doing a little bit more of a handshake between field service and project operations. That's another application that I'm not going to completely dive into today, just the time constraints and things like that. But so just remember in doing that, as you're saying, ooh, that looks cool. Okay, let's help you with our great licensing team and making sure, do you have those? Do we need those? How can we assist, and what can we do from that standpoint? So the most common, or the big one that everybody thinks of first, is we think of sales and dynamic sales. And you're probably going to hear a theme here. I think Marcus touched base on it a little bit. I'm sure Joe will have it, where what Microsoft is doing as they're doing enhancements, and what they're doing is improving those agents. I had the benefit of presenting to you guys about a year ago when we were doing 2025 Wave 1 releases, and we talked about the research agent, the qualification agent, and all of these different things that are out there. And to just kind of build on that, and where Microsoft is going with dynamic sales is increasing some things with that sales research agent, and thinking about it for those sales managers and how they can really branch out, multi-branch research journeys, and going to grab data from that Fabric Lakehouse, or other files, even Excel, PDF, different things like that, to really help with what they need to do in the planning and other things that they want to get out of it. Reasoning behind the research outcomes, to understand how insights were derived. So being able to see that and understand that a little bit further, or drilling into those findings and interact a little bit more directly, and getting some further understanding of that and what they're doing. One of the screens, or whatever the kind of the things I'm providing here, is that accelerating data entry with the form fill assistant. And really, when we're thinking about the use case and up that is you think about a lot of sellers that need to upload files or business cards or different things. There's all of those different components where you've seen it, it's been in here, and some things like that. But where AI can help with some more of those, and think of those those scrapes, and a lot of times people are thinking of OCR and things along those lines, but extracting names and phone numbers and addresses, and making those suggestions to fill in those forms and get things. And that's number one. When you're thinking as a salesperson, what don't you like to do? You don't like to do admin work. So how is Copilot, how is AI really truly being that assistant to help you do that and provide that? They have the idea and the concept of visualization with Copilot. That's the next screenshot that I have. We have visualization, and we're thinking about, if you got the right licenses and stuff, being able to visualize a list like this with Power BI in that yellow bar at the top, and the visualizing this view, but now even a little bit more with Copilot and having it on the left-hand side, and being able to, when you're doing it, you're able to see the visualization in the list and the data right there that's doing that. So I think that's really cool and really helpful in providing a little bit more from a reporting and how we're doing the different reporting. There's also an idea and a concept of really called the smart grid, and the smart grid to find, filter, and sort data with a natural language. Traditionally, and I show it all the time as far as how people like to create those lists and export them to Excel and things like that, and saying, let's add these specific columns or these filters and things. But what you're doing in those traditional ways, they could be slower, or if you want to do more complex filtering menus or things like that, that Copilot and this smart grid and finding and filtering can provide more efficiencies in letting you do that and help create those a little bit more. So that's good. We get a little bit more into leads. So you think about those researches and the qualification with the leads and enhancing and getting into that a little bit better of better, best, next best actions. We're always talking about with the agents, and we're looking at leads or even lead scores and things like that as far as which ones are the best ones to grab and what are the good next steps based on that data, based on what we've done and the success we've found with those leads in the past. So what's the next best, that not just which leads should we go and chase and do with and do those different things, but what's our next best action with those specific leads and things along those lines. So it's really from the sales manager view, some different features and things along those lines. As we go through the sales process and we think about that, obviously go from lead to opportunity, and how are we enhancing and doing some different things that way. Another agent. So we were talking about the sales research agent. Now we're talking about the sales close agent, and how do we accelerate those opportunities and things like that. So similar to the leads, how are we identifying those important actions in that flow of work, or keeping things current with those single-based triggers and things that we're trying to do that way. I've had and talked with a number of different prospects and ideas as far as how it's catching on, or there's more discussions relative to sequences. And the sequences are those tools and kind of the seller journeys of how they're managing some different things. And now they've got a better inflow email template picker, and that's the screen up in the upper right-hand corner of how we're able to grab those email templates a little bit better view of it, rather than searching and scrolling and things that we're doing along those lines. So doing that, once again, a little bit more from the sales research agent, the view of sales management. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but more operational insights, more intent signals as far as how we going, and the different ways that we can grab that data. And from that data, we're grabbing it from CRM, but getting those other signals, those budgets, those targets, those billing, some of the things that we might get from some of the financials, but we can share through one link and doing things along those lines. And then other things as far as contact signals with what we're thinking about of what are the organizational changes, or what things happen from macro events or strategic priorities with certain clients and certain individuals and things along those lines. So we're able to see that. The other screen that you'll see here really cool, and I think it's kind of neat, is within the Sales Hub, the dialer, an embedded smartphone. We're always talking about that, and I'm sharing that with individuals and clients relative to customer service. We always think of it, and we think of screen pop and having the phone, but having Microsoft embed that smartphone in from the sales side, and was actually at an on-site demo a couple weeks ago that was asking about that and bringing that in. So I think that's key in understanding. We've seen and share the ideas as far as summaries, quick summaries on the opportunity or on the account or things like that, just enhancing and doing that, and a streamlining. If those people that you're not necessarily using Dynamics customer insights or Dynamics marketing from that whole business application, but you're doing things within sales and the concept and idea of quick campaigns, then you've got a little bit more improved processes and flow. It flows and helps you through that, but in doing things like the bulk email outreach and things along those lines. So
I was going to say, Bill, I've never seen that the soft phone layout. I have no idea where Microsoft got that from. Looks like Teams almost embedded, sarcastically, right?
yeah, exactly, and the different things that they're doing and what they're doing there.
Right.
So.
And maybe one thing I can add to the audience, because you kind of had it off at the very beginning of the conversation. You know, when it comes to some of these AI features, remember that there is a cost to those features when you use the research agent that you just need to consider. Obviously, with each license now, so when you buy Dynamics 365 Sales, there's a premium license, if I remember correctly. And at that premium level or above, they give you an allotment of credits per user that has then the ability to basically use those credits then on the tenant. And this is a little bit different because it changed around the February-March time period, and it's in the licensing guide to kind of define that. But just know that the license level matters for getting those Copilot credits. And if you think about like 1,000 Copilot credits, you get that for every user that's at that license level. But there is a caveat to that, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. But if you have like an M365 Copilot license, which is the $30 license per month, when you're using the features that are Copilot credit enabled features, right now you're not being charged for those Copilot credit features. So something just to note here is that you know, there is going to be some consumption, right, Bill, that you need to kind of consider. And once again, it's not as easy as saying, oh, this is what the consumption is, because it's dependent on prompting, the amount of data that you're sending, the amount of interactions you're having. So we can get you to those estimates, but typically it requires a conversation just to understand what's being thrown at the agent, so that way we can get you to that credit amount. So something just
Absolutely.
to note, right? And this
Yep.
applies towards BC, CE, F&O. Copilot credits is the standard token of currency, I guess, to a degree, that we use then to use these features in any of these applications.
Yep. No, good feedback. Thanks, Scott. So let's hop into customer service. So we talked about sales. So the next business application, the most common in thinking about is really that customer service. And I think one of the keys or one of the cool things that they have is viewing the customer sentiment indicators on a case or even in specific emails. We're always thinking, and people really like it when we do those and we demonstrate the screen pop and the taking of the transcript as they're communicating over the phone and doing that and seeing that sentiment and seeing it change. Well, now we can have that sentiment and see that on a case as far as how we've had those interactions and things, if it's positive or negative, or where we're going to increase that customer satisfaction in what we're doing. So also talk about the define of critical questions in that evaluation criteria, and it really helps in ensuring the requirements around compliance and mandatory disclosures and things that are are always enforced as you're interacting with those clients and cases and things that you're doing. A shadow mode, obviously, you're thinking about it for the case management. So talking about more agents in customer service, we're thinking about the case management agent and some different things there. Controlled evaluation volume of related to the quality evaluation agent using by supervisors and what they're doing, and controlling that volume or that sampling that they grab, as far as you have so many different calls and what you're looking at and what we want to do, and do that, and then validating the knowledge and the processes with those different evaluations. So having some more things relative to some case management agents, the quality evaluation agents, the different agents. We talked about the agents in sales, but we got some more agents and things on the customer service side. Supervisor, from the supervisor standpoint, in enabling those screen recording controls for those admins, and then really helping with some forecasting. We always think of the term forecasting on the sales side, but really from the customer service, and saying, hey, what's our call volume, and what are we doing at certain times of the week or certain days, and we can optimize staffing, and we can help reduce cost and maintain those consistent service levels. Because as you get into customer service or contact center and you're thinking about that, that's really key in saying, hey, do we have enough people? Are people waiting a long time? What's going on? But having the AI help with those forecasting and saying, okay, and Wednesday afternoons we're going to need some more people to optimize the staffing and keep with those consistent service levels that we want to do with different clients.
That's a pretty cool feature. Like that's one I've heard other leaders ask for. I guess maybe the caveat to it would be like you have to, in like the experience for the agent, Microsoft has built in a bunch of prompts that it uses to evaluate that data, because I think like one of the things we don't want to, I guess, how do I just say it really bluntly? We don't want AI to do the thinking for us. Like, in that's a really important concept. It's supposed to do the accumulation and the directional guidance around it, but the thinking still happens with the person. So just something to note here is that, like, this type of a feature is not something that you're going to see in my mind where AI is telling you exactly what has to happen every single time. Instead, it's directionally telling you, like Bill said, there's a prompt maybe in it that says, hey, look for patterns of service days and staffing and identify what days could require more staffing. And that's really a directional statement that's given to the agent that it can then align, for example, maybe where those gaps would be, kind of to Bill's point with it. So just something to note. Don't expect it to replace the thinking, but it is going to make it a lot faster to make recommendations on what you should do that you can then obviously implement as you go through that as well.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's hop into the next one. One of my favorite business applications is field service. So it's great to see in what they're doing, and how Microsoft is improving some different things around field service. I know in talking with clients and prospects and stuff, it's that how do we provide better performance, productivity enhancements for those technicians. And obviously that is around the mobile experience and thinking about that. And what are we doing? Just like with the sellers, they don't want to do their admin work. The technicians on the field need some more assistance and things along those lines. So adding some notes with a simplified, better control, and I'm always showing on my phone as far as, hey, you've got it on most phones, you've got the microphone, you click and you talk to text and you get into that things. But just helping with that note-taking control and adding those notes, trying to simplify that and get some things go up. They talk about disabling the click-through on lookup values on some forms, and that's just accidentally fat fingering or doing some different things to provide and and doing that. If there's certain lookup values and stuff you didn't want to click there, and they're finding as they're talking with clients to do that and disabling some of those click-throughs so that they don't go to the wrong area as they're scrolling doing it. Just making it easier, once again, for the technicians to work with the application and doing it. I appreciate I have an Android phone and improved form loads by 25% and how it takes and things. But when you're thinking about the phone, and I'm always sharing it with in demos and things that people are doing, is saying, hey, make sure as we help you with the implementation, we're not going to download half of the client list or the whole entire client list. Let's download the clients that the technician's going to work with the work orders and things like that. How do we help with those form loads? But even just the form itself and just the back end, and Microsoft's continuing to look and improve that performance and what they need to do. So doing that. And same thing, just like I said with the disabled click-through, the enhanced booking status control of reducing those mistaps with larger touch targets and a drawer-based selection. So here they're giving in the screenshot an example of providing it a little bit bigger, a little bit more of a drawer to say, hey, I'm going from scheduled to traveling to on break to those types of things. So that experience where that was a little bit smaller, or there was the drop down on the right hand side that they had to click, give them a little bit bigger button, give them a bigger drawer to select from to make it easier to interact and do some things with the mobile device. Then you're looking at the dispatchers, and the dispatchers, how can we improve their day-to-day and what they're doing with the field service solution? And that's really, how do we move multiple bookings at once from the offset, and that's a little bit shown here on the screen that's in there, or move multiple bookings to a new resource. So you have somebody that calls in sick and what they need to do, and you need to move, maybe they've got 5 bookings on for that day. How can we move a little bit more and make that easier rather than one by one by one and doing that? So optimizing resources with okay, so here's another agent, and we've been talking about those and things from the scheduling operations agent, that's more on the field service side. And then I found it also interesting, and really that there's more people that are excited, or as I'm doing demonstrations, about the map. And instead of having really the resources and the schedules on the left-hand side, you can only expand it so much. They've provided it as a full view on the top so that you can see where things are. If you really want to understand where's one and where's one, you still need that person. Obviously, some individuals or some organizations could go to the next step in doing resource scheduling optimization or ISO. But here, in being able to get that more area and get that view from that map view that they're taking a look at from field service. The next one on the field service side is, and this is where I'm talking kind of cross collaboration, is more connections to Microsoft Project and Project Operations. There's some similar functionality between the two, and they're trying to identify and do that and kind of do best practices where that can help and what we can grab from one side to the other in doing that. And we can once again help you as far as how does that interact with licensing or things like that. But approved field time entries in using some of the product rules. So really the leveraging some of those workflows that are already created in project operations with field time entry in doing that. I know Marcus even talked about, I think, time entry or expense management save. It's a big one, especially when you're talking field service and you're doing some things that way. So it helps with the financial outcomes, reducing manual recognition, making sure it's a little bit more consistent around those different processes. Creating work orders from project tasks, so turning those tasks into executable work orders, and then bill only what matters and what needs to be done, and providing those project teams a little bit clearer visibility, and then showing the project task content for the field set scheduling, and what are those different timelines or dependencies on the work orders as you're working through those projects, or advising, okay, there's maybe some warnings around scheduling or some other things that might conflict in doing some things that way. So that's those two, a lot of information on the field service side. Maybe I was a little biased in putting a little bit more on there because I enjoy talking about it, but a lot of cool things I'm excited about, I think, specifically, as I said, with those technicians and improving mobility from that standpoint.
Yeah, I like the time entry scenario too. So just candidly, like the example I like to give with it is that you've got irrigation systems that you win as a project, you do the install for it, and then something breaks. Well, typically what we do is we use project operations for the project and the billing and all that. And then what we do is we use field service to dispatch team members to go that are not only doing the project installation, but are also doing then maintenance or support operations as well with it. And it's a shared resource pool. And that's always been kind of a challenge because it's like, well, do you use a project team separately than your field service team? And a lot of companies, some companies do that. They have separate teams that are for that. Others use the same resources. So I guess, Bill, this is a welcome feature, I think, in a lot of ways to kind of bridge that gap where you have a shared service of technicians that you could access either through projects that they're deploying or even rework or fixes or repairs that they may have to do for that, which is definitely going to be prevalent in construction. So this is a nice feature to see.
Yeah, you're going to see more of that. And I've been, prior to coming to Stone Ridge, I was at an ISV where they did that projects and service. And
Yep.
as you said, using those same technicians and leveraging that from how do we help it and make it easier to do from time entry, or I'm even envisioning, we do have the universal schedule board, but scheduling and other things that need to be done. So it's a little bit more, no matter what you're doing, new install or service, it's all right there and flows very nice. So
That's awesome.
I think this is all part of that. So it's great. Lastly, we're going to get into and talk a little bit about the Dynamics Customer Insights journeys. As I said, there's Dynamics Customer Insights data. There's some enhancements and things that way, but most often or not, our prospects and clients are leveraging journeys and what we're doing. So with AI Copilot, one of the things as you're talking about those journeys and you're doing things is conversational text messages. So we think about the generations and how the younger generation is doing more with text messages and engaging and doing things along those lines, that proactive engagement or conversation. How can we do that? How can we see more of those conversationals? What's going on? What are the metrics around it? That are a part of it, the different attempts, the outcomes, the different reporting that we can do. So all of those things and how we can leverage and build those reports using Microsoft Fabric and that integration for doing some of those powerful conversational text messages that can really help and do some things on the customer insights journeys as we're engaging with new prospects and others in that communication or those marketing aspects. We're also helping with automatically updating emails with the latest content. So we do about it, and there is Copilot in helping with the theming and the branding and the different things that are there as you're creating the what are we sending with the specific emails. But now they're doing things as far as more dynamic content blocks. So I always give the example is if all of your emails you have a legal disclaimer at the bottom and an email template, you've got that block, and maybe your legal team or something has updated it. You don't have to go into each individual email or email template to go ahead and upload it, cut and paste or whatever, that it's done more dynamically and can be automatically updated. So saving time in doing that or keeping it consistent in what you're doing and doing things along those lines. Also really going ahead to boost customer confidence. Everybody wants to send a link. Click on this link, do this. It's usually a bunch of garbled random letters and numbers and different things like that might not be looking as professional. Or the biggest thing, and we're always pausing, hope you guys are, but I pause, and other people in our organization and saying IT wants to say, wait a minute, before you click on a link, Are you sure that it's there? Well, being able to create more of those vanity links or branded, increasing trust so people aren't as hesitant. For the marketing team, they want you to click on those links and see the new promotions and the new different things that are available in there. So you can do that. So boosting that customer confidence that what we're sending it, yeah, this is an email that came from us. Don't feel free, you're okay. Click on that link, come and see and learn more information, interact with us more in doing that. So I think that was kind of cool. That one got me excited. And then the next one is the message expiration dates to keep communication relevant. And that's the screenshot I have here. We can, with customer insights journeys, you can say, hey, this journey goes from this date to this date and have an end date or an expiration date on the journey itself. But in having it dynamically in what you're doing as you have different segments, maybe people are dynamically coming into the list or in what they're doing, and you're saying, hey, I'm sending out certain reminders before an event coming up. As the event gets closer, it's like, well, maybe those earlier email messages aren't as relevant. So you're not going to send 5, you're going to send 3. You can set an expiration on those individual emails and say, nope, this one, if they even come in afterwards, expire this email. So the specific action or things that are in putting in that expiration there, but the whole journey can continue, but we're just not sending out all of a sudden 3 email messages at once or whatever, because we're getting closer to an action they would want them to do, to sign up for an event or do something along those lines. So a couple cool things from the customer insights and marketing side. So want to make sure I'm giving Joe enough time as well. That's really what I wanted to go through from Dynamics CE. Once again, in Microsoft Learn, that link I provided at the beginning, or you go ahead and do your search on it. You can see a little bit more that's out there, and some great details and things along that side with exciting new things coming out on the Dynamics CE side.
That's awesome content, Bill. Really appreciate it. I was just gonna put it, and this is a joke. I always click on every single link that's ever sent to me. All right, we've got a phishing test that we have pretty constantly, where we get fake emails that test us. Basically, one of the things that I used to do back in the day is I would actually have a VM that I would have, and I would purposely click on those links because I was really curious, like, how bad can it be? And I will tell you, in a VM, it's kind of nice because you can always reset the state with it, and it's fully like the VM is very generic, but it's kind of scary what they can do with those links nowadays. And so the rule of thumb is not to do what Scott Frappier says. Instead, it is do not click on the link and report it as phishing, because there are some vulnerabilities that can get through the browser, and then from the browser they can get to the computer, and it's not something that you want to deal with. So once again, be very careful out there and do not do what I did in the past. And I know that, there are going to be some like IT team members that there's controlled environments that we can use to do that type of stuff. But for an end user, like I said, you're gonna want to avoid that. So the vanity links, I guess, long story short, Bill, that's a good thing, because you're right. Like the random generated GUID type strings that are there in them, like I never click on those, even if they are from a reputable source, because I'm always concerned after kind of being, I don't know, desensitized to a degree of all this phishing emails that come out. Like you want to make sure you're making content that can connect with your teams and your groups, right? So it feels like a small feature, but it's actually pretty big in terms of impact, I think, on the customer as you go through that.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Joe, why don't you go ahead and share what you've got, and we will
saving the best for last here.
There we go. Is that what we're saying? I don't know. I think Marcus and Bill may have some retorts to that. All right, let's go ahead.
We have fun, don't we, folks?
Oh,
all right.
We do.
So let's go over some of the highlights in finance and supply chain now. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our supply chain management innovations. So these are the features that are planned or coming for D365 supply chain management. One of the first things that I wanted to talk about here is just some enhancements and some capabilities coming with planning optimization and the demand planning application. So, one of the things that if you haven't used the demand planning application, highly recommend checking it out. It's a fantastic application, and really it's a true demand planning application now. If you've used the existing one or the one that existed in the past in AX 2012 or the early days of D365, this is a whole different ballgame. We're actually utilizing the correct models now, and really going to a true demand planning application. But one of probably my favorite features here is the ability to have a price demand correlation analysis. And this is a new feature that allows you to do some of your pricing changes or to link some of these pricing changes based off market responsiveness. So not just, what was your historical margin? What are you going to order? What did you sell? What are you going to order? Now we can actually start to make some pricing decisions. And that is going to tie into a lot of, the outside world. Like, over the past year, tariffs have been something that have maybe should have had an impact on our pricing decisions. We can now feed those types of external factors into our pricing analysis, so that we can help to get that information for us and figure out what's going to be the best price to have that at. Kind of similar to what Marcus and Bill said earlier, these are all features that are going to be gradually released, either in public preview or general availability over the next 6 months. Some of these we actually have hard dates for. So this one we're going to have public preview in July of 2026, and it's targeted to go live with general availability in September of 2026. I will caveat that with a lot of times, if we don't have something already in public preview, those dates can slip if something goes wrong. So don't hold that general availability as a hard date. That's just kind of hopefully where it's going to land here. But public preview for sure coming out in July of 2026. Again, further, more deeper integration with Copilot and AI. We're going to have some more AI-driven insights to help highlight some of the anomalies and trends, reduce some of the manual data analysis, and really take full advantage of Copilot and AI and what we have available to us. That one, we already have a public preview out right now. General availability is coming in June of 2026 there. And then planning optimization is going to help us with some of our replanning churn. So we have improved forecast stability with planning optimization. And along that same line, some additional planning optimization feature changes, capable to promise. So this was a big one a couple of years ago when capable to promise finally came to planning optimization. We are now getting some date protection for capable to promise now. So it's a new feature that protects our confirmed CTP dates from being overwritten during planning optimization runs. We are going to have public preview for that this month, with the hope of general availability or the plan of general availability in September of 2026. This is just a great feature or a great enhancement to our CTP and planning optimization, because it's going to help make sure that we are sticking to those committed dates for our CTP calculations. So this I would consider more of a repair than a feature enhancement here.
Yeah, and I want to interject with that too, Joe. Like, yeah. I see that and I'm like, wait a second here. Like, if I'm in an order and I do a capable to promise calculation and I'm on with the customer and I tell them this is the date, when planning reruns for planning optimization, it should not change that date. Like that.
It should not.
Right? Like yep. that. Okay. So remember, I think we're kind of, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong too, we're kind of in the last wave of the planning optimization, because we used to have the classic MRP engine. So we've always had these capabilities at a base level in the product. What they did 4 years ago is they said, let's build a new planning optimization engine. And that was the modern MRP replacement. And there's lots of features like speed and all this other kind of stuff that was added. But I think this is just maybe fine tuning those final ones. Is that where your head's at too with it, Joe?
Yeah, that's how I see this as well. In the previous wave, so wave 2 of 2025, we actually had a lot of features that dropped that gave us pretty close to full feature parity with the existing MRP. So we finally got support for lean manufacturing and Kanbans, and capable to promise is one they've been working on for probably about the past year now.
Okay.
And I think this should be about the last feature that we need to have full feature parity, and make sure that we can utilize capable to promise in the new MRP, which, like Scott said, the performance gains alone are well worth the switch to planning optimization. But it's just a great feature now, and I'm looking forward to CTP finally being realized in full on the new planning optimization platform.
Yeah, and they're doing some other cool features. Like they've added DDMRP, which is a new concept, demand-driven MRP, which
Yep.
you can have service levels basically that you can align for inventory for reordering. So yeah, I agree. Like alone, the performance, like I've seen runs where it's gone from 4 hours to run to like 15 minutes. So it's
Yeah.
highly dependent, obviously, on number of transactions and that type of stuff. But it absolutely is the step in the right
and your
direction.
bomb depth too.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
If you've got some pretty deep bombs, it's going to still take you not quite as short of a time. But I remember when it first came out, it was targeted only towards distribution because it didn't support bombs.
Right, purchase orders.
But I did see some anecdotal analysis that 13-hour runs were now down to 13 minutes. So
wow, that's awesome too.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was fantastic in some of the things that they did, and it's not running on your server, so it's not taxing your current load. It's all off of your finance and operations instance.
Awesome.
All right, Scott, it wouldn't be a wave release or even a conversation with you and I if I didn't mention one of the first party agents. So obviously we're going to talk about the supplier communication agent and some of the collaboration enhancements that we have here. The supplier communication agent is going to start supporting Excel attachments for better traceability. We are looking to target general availability in June for that one. But the thing that I'm probably most excited about is we are finally getting our new dedicated portal. So we have always had a vendor collaboration experience within D365, but essentially it was you just got a very restricted view into our D365 environment, and we've completely redone that. Public preview coming in May. We are getting a Power Pages portal. Say that 3 times fast. But we are getting a Power Pages portal that will give us all of the supplier collaboration information now. So, when we start to look at sending out RFQs or RFPs to different vendors, if we want to, communicate with vendors of hey, we're gonna, confirm our purchase order, we can start utilizing an actual portal now to give us that information. So, a lot of really cool things coming on the supplier collaboration side here.
It's a good move. Like I think just kind of feedback around it. Like you said, it used to be it's like a login and you had the same role center. And I'll tell you, like if you've used Dynamics and you haven't used Dynamics before, it's not as super intuitive of just immediately knowing where to go as a vendor, whereas when you have a portal design, it's typically much more structured towards that requirement. So I think we've always talked about this, Joe, having it in Power Pages portals, right, or PPPs or whatever we're going to call it, triple P. But it'll be a good thing to start seeing that because it's going to be just a better user experience for the vendor as they're interacting with it as well.
Well, it just makes sense. I mean, it's a Microsoft product. We're a Microsoft solution here. Why not take advantage of the product that was designed to handle that?
Right. Agreed. Oh, that's cool.
All right. A lot of information or a lot of enhancements coming for warehouse management, and especially some intelligence features. So there's going to be some enhancements coming for serial and batch capture during cluster picking. The 2 that I think I am probably most excited about here, spatial location intelligence, basically being able to define and tell the system where things are on a map of your warehouse, game changer, right? You can now basically give it a map of where everything is located, where all of your bins and shelves and pallets and everything are, and you can give it that information so that it can help to generate your picking routes. But then also we can feed that map into Copilot through D365 and basically get some additional enhanced warehouse efficiency by asking Copilot, hey, where should I put this item? And have it generate those suggestions of, hey, you pick from here a lot. You also then have to go to this place. You should maybe move those two around so that you can get better picking. So those are two that I'm probably most excited about. But obviously, again, there's a lot of new features coming to warehouse management. We can archive our load data now. We can also integrate with external labor management systems. And for anyone who is currently using the warehouse only mode, you can also streamline your transfer order receiving now by using ASNs. So a lot of enhancements. All of these are actually coming general availability in June. So these will be coming pretty quickly here with our warehouse management enhancements.
Yeah, I think the picking speed, the spatial location intel, we've always joked around Amazon. I know Amazon pickers, right? They have like a time indicator that shows them how much time they have to get to the next bin.
Yep.
Because they know exactly where those are. So I think, to me, it makes it easier for the system to recommend the right pattern for somebody to go pick. It's kind of up to the company on what they want to use as their performance metrics that are related to it. It's kind of funny though, Joe, like we joke around, the example I like to give here is the dynamic item placement. We call those forward staging locations, or FSLs typically in the industry, and
Yep.
having it where Copilot can make those recommendations, or even if it's like volume based, for example, or movement based turns, so to speak, like that's a really cool feature, because then it can put the right product in the right area to reduce traffic time, which just is going to help with your picking operation. So that's a cool feature to see.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, these are going to be fun to see. I believe public preview is this month, but I know general availability is scheduled for June. So we'll get to play with that soon, Scott.
Yep.
One last thing on the supply chain management side of things, there is a new API that allows us to calculate prices for external systems. Basically, and we've had a couple of customers who have realized this, when it comes to calculating programmatically our prices and discounts and everything like that, why reinvent the wheel in systems like CE when Dynamics has a whole price calculation available to us? And so we've built actually some of these integrations using dual write, but now we have a true API, a native API that's coming that allows us to basically calculate prices. We get a signal from an external system. We can calculate those prices using the Dynamics or the D365 FNSCM pricing calculator, and then feed that information back to your external system. So really cool to see this one coming out. I know it's kind of a niche thing, but I've seen it on more than one occasion where we want prices calculated in a CRM system, but why would we recreate a price calculation system when we have the availability within finance and supply chain? All right, we're getting close. Got some finance innovations that I want to share with you all as well. The first thing is, I think we've been talking about this for a while now.
Yep.
We are finally getting our next generation journals. We are supposed to have general availability in September of 2026. We will see if that actually comes to pass. But this is something we've been talking about for probably the past year, maybe 2 years. We are getting a new journal framework, and for those of you who are watching this and saying, oh no, please don't take away my existing journal framework, you still will have access to that. But this is something that we are moving to because there's a lot of things that we ask of our journals now, and especially when we start dealing with Copilot, some of the automation friendly structures, complex multi-entities, we're really testing the boundaries of our existing journal framework that really hasn't been modified for a while. So what this is going to allow us to do is really have better support for those types of functionality. So for any of our automation-based processes, complex multi-entities, it's just going to be a lot smoother experience with this next generation financial journal framework. So, like I said, Scott, we've been talking about this for a while. I'm excited that this is actually starting to come to fruition now, because this is gonna be great for performance. We also have a delayed settlement capability coming, so we can delay the settlement from journal posting and improve the control over our sequencing and reconciliation. The automatic bank reconciliation preview, that's also coming in June of 2026. And then, again, I can't not talk about some of the first-party agent capabilities that we have. The account reconciliation agent, I think everyone probably knows how much I love that new feature, but we are getting some enhancements to that as well. Some of the matching enhancements. So if you've tried it, you might have had some issues with matching, and the example I give all the time is actually one where it didn't match it up, even though it very, very much is a true match. We're getting some intelligent matching enhancements there. Bulk actions, being able to do a lot of the different, or be able to do things to a lot of different entries. MCP integration, this is basically going to allow us to start extending the account reconciliation agent. So instead of waiting for Microsoft to come up with, fixed assets, project accounting, intercompany that are coming soon, we could potentially go in and start utilizing MCP to do that ourselves. The inventory module is going to be supported. I love inventory costing, so I am very excited for the inventory module to be now supported as a reconciliation component, and then some better internal reporting, and all of that is just to enhance our traceability and our trust in what the account reconciliation agent is doing. So a lot of features coming for that in the next wave here. On the same lines, our business process and performance, our business performance and planning enhancements. We've got some additional features being released in this next wave. So we've got some quick start templates, some additional quick start templates that are going to be available in July to help you speed up your planning and reduce your time to value with this feature. Manufacturing data analytics is going to be supported here. Again, public previews coming in June. We should hopefully have general availability in September. And a more frequent data refresh. Right now, I believe it's 6 hours, maybe 12 hours. We're going to get down to, I think it's an hour or two. Can't remember exactly what it said, but we're getting down to more frequent data refreshes on our business performance. Some additional finance enhancements. We've got some additional enhancements coming to financial tags. So again, kind of similar to what we talked about on the supply chain side with MRP, the planning optimization replacing MRP. Financial tags are a little bit more performant way of utilizing our financial dimensions. So this newest update gets us pretty close to parity with financial dimensions. So our customer and vendor payment journals that are generated from a payment proposal will get financial tags. The account and offset account lines for those payment journals, as well as journals that are created through advanced bank reconciliation. We've also got a whole heap of new features or enhancements that are coming to fixed assets, including intercompany transfer. We can do a mid-month intercompany transfer now. We have a new transfer value methods. We have a redesigned in-legal entity split experience, and then some enhancements for our reducing balance depreciation as well. On the invoice capture side of things, we're going to leverage Copilot for some of the invoice header level derivation. We can now have, and this is something I've been thinking we should have for a while now, we can have side-by-side invoice and purchase order view. So instead of just scanning in the purchase order or the invoice and hoping that we are matching up to the purchase order, we can actually view the purchase order now in the invoice capture solution.
That's right. I forgot that that was not there, right?
Yeah.
Initially, and you're like, well, how do I verify that the information is right? And it's like, well, you just have to trust it. But
Yeah.
this gives
Or
you,
flip back and
right?
forth.
Yep, exactly. So, okay, that's awesome. That's a great, nice little add, quality of life.
Yep. It's a good quality of life feature, I think.
Yeah.
As well as some enhanced charge recognition and allocation. So we're able to better grab those charges from there. And then around subscription billing, most of this is just performance improvements. So we've got some performance improvements for our when we're billing our unbilled revenue, when we're generating a sales order invoice, and then some multi-element revenue allocation logic during some updates and termination of our subscription billing.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of companies that use subscription billing, it's not just one or two contracts; it's thousands and thousands of them. So,
Yep.
any performance improvement, unbilled would be, the revenue that hasn't been billed for the month, but you're going to be forecasting what that is, right? So we got entries we can make for that. So yeah, that's another nice one, Joe.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And then finally, just some overall platform enhancements. Again, with Copilot, we've just got some quality of life enhancements here. We can extend Copilot into more FNSCM apps with client actions. So basically, we're just giving developers the ability to add capabilities to our sidecar chat experience. So if you've seen Scott's demonstrations before, the multiple different ways that you can interact with Copilot. This is for the sidecar view on our D365 windows. We are also now getting the ability to boost our agent performance through optimal tool execution paths in MCP. This is really just for performance and accuracy within MCP. If you've played with it, if you've seen any of our demos on MCP in the past, it's not exactly the most performant. So we're getting some of those performance enhancements so that hopefully asking for a customer credit limit doesn't take us 5 minutes to get that information back. This one's a kind of a cool one. Improved data tools in the MCP server. So right now, anytime you're using MCP, everything's going through OData, but we do have the ability now, or we will have the ability to go straight to SQL for improved performance. So that's another interesting one with the MCP. Attachments. MCP is going to be able to work with attachments in D365, and then also open records in D365 ERP apps with deep links. So just a lot of performance improvements around some of the Copilot and MCP experiences here. And then finally, this is my last slide. Coming right up to time. Look at that.
Right.
We have some enhancements around our archive framework. So as we're talking about storage limits and some of the storage sizes of our D365 environments, hard to believe that D365 has been around for 9 years now, I think, according to my math.
Yeah,
but
dang close, right?
Yeah, we really haven't had a great archival tool. Microsoft has created some archival tools for us, but one of the best, or one of the good features that's coming out here in the next wave, you can now have your developers build custom scenarios with the archival framework tool. So instead of having to wait for Microsoft to come up with a scenario that you need, you can now build your scenario with the archival framework in order to help maximize your archiving capabilities. And along those same lines, we can enable parallel processing for our archive long-term retention jobs. So in the same legal entity, you're able to do parallel processing of some of those archival jobs. And that's all I got.
Wow, there's quite a bit of features that we're starting to see here. You guys went through quite a bit. I hope the audience was able to accumulate all that. I know we'll have more of those specific deep dives, obviously, in the webinars, but great job. In the background here, there hasn't been many comments that we've seen, so I know we're about a half an hour over from our regular time. We did 90 minutes today to make sure we could go through this content, and I'm glad we extended it, because if you've been on them before, we've had to cut off one of the products, and it didn't feel like a really good thing to cut off one of the products, right? So I guess with that, thank you again for joining. Hopefully the content was beneficial for you to understand, obviously, what's coming. Obviously, there's a lot of there's things in the back end here from an MCP perspective that really integrates more with agents. So I guess, we're expecting, quite candidly, a little bit more in the agents, and I think what we're seeing is that that improvement is occurring. We are seeing, obviously, enhancements to the agents, but I think as well the tooling that's been developed here allows us to build more agents as part of it too. So pretty cool to see that it's kind of that balance between introducing agents and capabilities and then allowing you to be able to create your own agents as well. And with MCP and some of these technologies, obviously, it's going to be really, really beneficial. I guess with that, Bill, Joe, Marcus, thank you for your time and expertise. It's really appreciated. I think moving forward here, 2 weeks, we're going to have another confab, and I think we're probably going to start looking at the data aspect that we had to kind of move. So we'll have that as possibly our next session. But with that, have a great rest of your week, and thank you for joining, and we'll see you 2 weeks from now.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.